Hey everyone, so this is a first video in my new series and this is my new EastEnders character series. A lot of you guys will know that I am a massive fan of EastEnders and at any given opportunity I like to talk about the characters and discuss their storylines and things with other people. So I thought I'd start this series and I tweeted a couple of weeks ago saying I was going to be doing this, which characters would you like me to talk about first? And there was quite a lot of interest from EastEnders fans. There was one or two characters which were quite highly requested, which I didn't expect those particular characters to be requested, but they are characters that I love, so they will be one of the first few that I do. But I decided that the first video it would be a really good idea to talk about Stacey Slater Branning, because obviously Stacey has just left. If you haven't seen my EastEnders Christmas Day video, go and check that out. But obviously Stacey's just left and she's been in the show since 2004. So she's been in there for 6 years and I thought it'd be a perfect way to sort of say a little goodbye to Stacey, and obviously my own way to say goodbye to Lacey Turner on the show as well. So when she first came into it I didn't really like her, I will be honest with you. I'm not the biggest fan of the Slater family in general. I like what they bring to the show, but personally I wouldn't want to be living next door to them. I wasn't a massive fan of Stacey when she first came into it. It took me a good few years to warm to Lacey as an actress, but as her storylines got more gritty and more detailed, the better actress I found her becoming, and in the end I just can't see why anybody would not like Lacey and they wouldn't like Stacey as a character. Some people might not like Stacey's personality, but I've got to admit, I think it'd be pretty weird to not like what she brings to the show, because she brings some hell of a lot of really tense storylines. And obviously she was Ruby's best friend when Ruby was in it, Ruby Allen. And that's sort of around the time I remember her being in it, and like when she had well, her hair was different, I'll say that, and she looked different, she dressed different, and she was still only a kid. If I remember rightly, she was 16 when she came into this. She was 22 now. Yeah, Lacey was 16 when she came into this, which is 2 years younger than what I am. So it's kind of devastating that somebody younger than me has achieved so much more. Like, obviously she's not younger than me now, but I know what I mean. But yeah, so she was only 16 when she came into it. So she's still only 22. She's still really young. So what she's achieved with the soap and all the awards she's won and everything is really quite incredible. She's had some of the most amazing storylines as well. Obviously when Jean first got introduced to it and Sean, and we learned about her mother's bipolar and things and the problems with her dad's death and all that things, it was really emotional and really quite the first time we really started to learn about Stacey and understand her past and things. So that story in itself was a really good sort of kind of introductory thing. I remember when Bradley first came into it, Charlie Clemens, bless him, and Bradley tried to woo Stacey, but Stacey was very much the party animal and Bradley was very much knitted jumpers and Doctor Who. So they were very two contrasting characters, but that's what really pulled them together and made them stick together. I could not choose myself a better TV EastEnders relationship for two characters. Bradley and Stacey were meant to be together. So when Bradley died, obviously that was horrendous, and obviously because it's kind of Stacey's fault that he died, it's tragic, but it's so perfect how it's worked. It makes perfect television. Obviously it's a real life situation that would not be perfect, but for an EastEnders story it's just all came together so beautifully. All the ups are brilliantly up and all the downs are brilliantly down, you know, they are fantastic. Obviously Stacey, when Stacey was in this kind of, if you want to call it a relationship with Max, that too, I really loved that storyline. I didn't like the fact that it tore Tanya's life apart. But I did like the whole Stacey and Max storyline, and I like the fact that they've kind of continued it. They haven't continued the relationship, but they've continued the friendship they built. They've continued the fact that Max still has these feelings for Stacey. And obviously Stacey doesn't really have those feelings for Max anymore, as she admitted before she left. But he is probably Stacey's best friend. Obviously Danielle was once Stacey's best friend, and that's when Danielle died, that's sort of when Stacey's bipolar started to show, because she obviously genetically inherited it from Jean. So that was probably the most moving, incredibly done story on EastEnders I've ever seen, Stacey's bipolar. Lacey handled that so well. Obviously it's such a delicate story to do, and the fact that I just cannot describe how amazing her performances was during those, especially when she was at her worst, and like the scenes when she was taken away, when she was sectioned and things, when she was in the street, and she was just, you know, horrible scenes, but so beautifully done, and Lacey deserves as much credit as she can get for those. And then obviously her biggest story was who killed Archie, and we found out it was Stacey on the live episode. And then she had baby Lily. I think having the baby is definitely what Stacey needed to help her sort of mature slightly and become more level-headed. Obviously her life still isn't perfect. She's essentially on the run now. But yeah, so I think in all her stories have been really well done. There isn't a single storyline that she's done that has been weak. You know, some characters have sort of tiny storylines that are they're never going to be explosive, they're never going to be anything major, and we're not going to remember them in 20 years' time. But most of Stacey's, and if not all of them, are key stories in EastEnders, ones that have been some of the biggest stories EastEnders have ever tackled. So Stacey's had a lot to deal with in the square, and Lacey has had a lot to tackle as an actress. There's no wonder why she's left after 6 years. I don't want her to leave, I wish she stayed on. But she's had a lot to deal with in 6 years, and I just give her credit for sticking that long, because that is obviously going to be very hard going mentally for her. I cannot wait to see what else Lacey has to do. Somebody told me that they read somebody told me that they read an interview with Lacey Turner, and apparently she said that she doesn't want to go back to EastEnders. If she gets asked to bring back Stacey, she won't do it. But I think in maybe 10-15 years time she might come back. Obviously Ryan still wants to see Lily at some point. Stacey might want to see Jean. Obviously they could sort of say, well, Ryan and Jean will just go out to see Stacey, whatever she is. But I do think that we can see Stacey coming back again, because it isn't until now that she's left that I've realised just how much of a key character she is, because I never really thought of her until a couple of months ago as being one of her really iconic characters. But she is definitely one of the best characters ever to happen to EastEnders in its 25-year history, and I just want to know where she is. I want to know where she's gone. Obviously it's not revealed where she's actually gone yet. Yeah. But please feel free to leave comments and things and let me know your thoughts on either the actress or the character or anything. I really am devastated that she's left, so I thought this was a really perfect way to start my character series, just sharing my views about the character and things. If you have any specific characters you'd like me to talk about, please let me know. I will not mention who I'm doing next. I don't know how frequently I'm going to do them, maybe once a week, maybe once a fortnight, I'm not sure. It depends on how popular they are and how many people want them and things. But if you have any specific characters you want, whether you really hate a character or whether you really love a character, let me know. I am doing new and old characters, so I'm going to be doing characters right from the very beginning up until characters that have only been in it this year. So there are a lot of characters to talk about. Some of them will be my favourites, but I have some characters to talk about that I'm not a massive fan of, and you'll find out why in those videos. But yeah, so if you have any specific characters you want me to talk about, please let me know. Also let me know if you'd like me to do one of these for Coronation Street. I'm thinking of doing one for Corrie as well, the Coronation Street character files. Yeah, but there we are, so I hope you've all had a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!